In today's tutorial, we're making a 12-inch bowl cozy, but don't click away. I promise we are covering information that you haven't seen before, including how to adjust the size, meaning depth, and how to deal with these stripes. So let's get sewing.
So this is the pattern that we're going to be using. You're going to mark it from corner to corner diagonally with a dotted line. Then you're going to mark the darts. Now we've marked the darts in the same manner that you will see them on a professional dress pattern, meaning that the straight line is where the dart is folded, the dotted lines is where you will sew your darts. Okay, ready, go. Cut two 12-inch squares of your fabric, two 12-inch squares of your batting. Now, unlike other patterns, you are going to draw this directly onto the batting, so you will have guidelines to sew.
But first, let's talk about sizing. I have two different size bowl cozies here. How do you pick which one? That actually has nothing to do with your fabric and everything to do with the size of your bowls. Just like people, bowls come in different sizes and different depths. Some are even fun and decorative. The beauty of using our measurements is that you can customize it to the bowls that you have in your house. Bowls are different sizes, so in order to determine how long the dart you need, you are going to look at the base of your bowls. Notice that these two are several inches different, which is why you would want a shorter dart on one and a longer dart on the other. You are not measuring the top. That won't help you. You are measuring the base. Turns out finding the middle is really easy. You're going to take your pre-cut 12-inch batting. You're going to go 6 inches over, 6 inches up. You're going to keep your finger there to mark that middle, and then you're just going to use your bowl as a stamp. You're just going to press it down. And look at that nice little mark. So now this will help you determine how long your dart needs to be. And what I mean by that is, do you need a longer 4-inch dart like the bowl cozy on the left, or a shorter 3-inch dart like the bowl cozy on the right? Both of these are still 12-inch pieces of fabric, but they fit completely different sized bowls.
The purpose of darts is to make things fit. The purpose of these darts is to fit the bowl. If it's too long, the bowl will not sit down at the bottom of the cozy and may tip. If it's too short, the bowl will slide back and forth in the cozy and still tip. So what you need to do is have your dart start a 1/2 inch away from the base of your bowl. That will determine the length of your dart. Now my finger is about a 1/2 inch, so I use that for a measurement. All right, now we are marking the batting. You're going to mark a straight line corner to corner and then mark the darts. Now, if you have a 12-inch grid, it's really easy to mark the darts at the 6-inch line. You just need to make sure that you are adjusting for the 1/2 inch on two sides of that 12-inch grid.
Side note, definitely didn't do that and it still turned out. But it'll be better if you listen to her.
Thank you. So you've marked the 6-inch line. That's where the fold line is on your dart. Then you're going to mark 1 inch on either side down to whatever length you determined your dart to be.
Side note, your dart is 2 inches across no matter the length. And here you see Cheryl marking hers with marker. Well, she has also taught me to just clip them. You will see her doing a 3-inch dart while mine is a 4-inch dart.
1, 2, 3, bottom of your dart, the other side, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you've marked the width and the length of your darts. Now you're going to connect those darts to give you a sewing line, and then you're going to make your darts.
And some of you may be thinking, I don't need to make all of these marks. That was 99% of my problems. Do you see how light this is? Yeah, that comes back to bite me later. Just take the time to mark it.
So once you've completed all your markings, you get to do it again on the other piece of batting. Then you're ready to sew.
I promise, do it.
So you've got both pieces of batting marked. Now you're going to put the batting on the wrong side of your fabric. I would put a few pins around them to hold those together, then move it to the sewing machine. The first thing you're going to sew is those stabilization lines from corner to corner. That's going to keep it together so the fabric won't shift. Okay, on to sewing those darts. These are not as hard as people think they are. The key is twofold. One, focus on the outside marks of the dart. Bring those two together, folding along that straight fold line down to the tip of the dart. If you've got that line along the top of your dart, it's lined up perfectly. So start at the top of your dart, backstitch a little bit, sew a straight line right down to the tip. Before you get to the tip, backstitch a little bit, and then sew right off the end. Okay, some of you may be wondering, why don't I just tootle on down to the other dart and sew up the other one? It can be done. I do not recommend it. There's an unwritten rule in sewing. Always sew your seams the same direction. On darts, it's very hard to get a sharp dart sewing from the tip to the widest part. It's likely to get a pucker, and it probably won't match the other one. It can be done, but again, I would not recommend it.
And the apprentice has a few more 3, 4th, and 5th fold tips for you to make this easier. First of all, see how light that is? Yeah, when you watch me sew this, it's like an inch too short because I couldn't see what I marked. So definitely make sure you mark the bottom of your dart. That will solve a lot of problems because you can see me pulling at the batting just to make sure I know where to stop. The good news is, if you realize you have sewn it too short, don't unpick. All you have to do is just remark it and sew right on down. You'll clip away the rest. One last tip from the apprentice, since I made every marking mistake possible while making these. Make sure you mark the start of your dart as well. And the reason I made so many marking mistakes is because I left, came back, and did it again. Just make all your marks at the same time. You'll thank me later.
So this is what your bowl cozy will look like once you get those 4 darts sewn. Starting to come together, looks like a bowl. Now, you get to do it again on the other 4 darts.
Side note, let it be known, I did not do this, but this is the type of pucker that can happen when you start from the tip of the dart and go to the top instead of the opposite. Instead, I just wasn't paying attention to how tight my fabric was, but I'm not undoing this because a bowl's sitting in it.
Okay, now we need to reduce that bulk on the darts before we can sew these together. Listen to me carefully. Do not trim down through the tip of that dart. The base of those darts is where the weight of the bowl sits. So you need to make sure that stays intact and can support both the weight of the bowl and whatever you're heating up inside. So do not clip down. Leave at least a 1/4, 3/8 of an inch at the base of that dart. You can trim the rest down to a 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch if you wish, but leave the base of that intact.
Didn't make that mistake.
All right, now it's time to assemble this bowl cozy. We're going to put right sides together, going to pin those corners in place, and there's 3 things to remember as we sew around this. The first one is leave an opening because you have to be able to turn it right side out. Second thing, the darts need to be open to reduce the bulk as you go around. And the third thing is, as you sew the 4 sides, they are not going to lay straight. They will be in a slight V. Follow that V. That will give the bowl its shape. So make sure you just follow the seam line around, whether you choose a 1/2 inch seam, 1/4 inch, 5/8, whatever you decide to use, do that seam all the way around following that V.
Also, apprentice tip, if you get so excited to see this to come together that you forgot to cut down your darts, you can do that while it's still pinned. Just make sure you reduce the bulk.
As you can see in this sample, the batting on mine shifted a little bit. That happens to the best of us. Don't worry about it, just trim it down. You want to eliminate that bulk, and it's important to have your fabrics match up. So just trim it on down and carry on. The goal here is to get 4 sharp corners for these bowl cozies. That's what you will be holding on to when you get it in and out of the microwave. So you want to make sure that those are sewn tightly with the sewing machine. So start right before a corner, sew all the way around through the fourth corner, and leave your opening between those last two corners. The last step to reduce the bulk is to clip those corners. Two options. Most American teachers teach you to just clip the corners diagonally, which is totally fine. British, on the other hand, they trim those down even closer because they like sharp points. I was trained in Britain, so I trim them down closer to the edge, but either way works. The easiest way to turn these right side out, particularly if you're using a heavy fabric, is to reach all the way through to the farthest corner. Poke the corner in with your other hand, grab the piece, pull that through, and then the other corners will follow. It's a much slicker way to turn that right side out.
Once it's turned inside out, we're moving over to the ironing board, which is her favorite thing, and we'll find out whether clipping our corners paid off or not.
Okay, to do corners, go inside, poke that out as far as you can like that. Then come to the outside and it's not pointy. You're just going to squeeze it like that. So then you get a nice sharp point. On to ironing, yes, which is indeed my very favorite thing. The first thing you're going to do is fold in the edges of that opening so you can stitch those together. Now, before you stitch that together, you're going to want to press those darts, and you're going to mold this as you press it. Do not iron across this because you're going to ruin all the construction that you just put in with the darts. Now you've got the basic pressing done. Now we're going to continue molding that into the shape of your bowl. So you're going to run your iron down that dart towards the center, give that a good steam, lifting up the other part of the cozy so you're starting to actually form that it will sit by itself. Back at the machine, you're going to stitch right along the edge of that opening and close that shut, making sure that you back stitch at both ends of that. Then the only thing left to do is to do your top stitching. This top stitching is decorative, but it's also functional. It adds additional stability to the edge of this cozy. It helps it stay together. It helps the edges to stay crisp. We recommend sewing at least a ½ inch away from the edge. You can use a decorative stitch, you can use a straight stitch, whatever you wish, but it is important to finish this off with some real pretty top stitching. You are essentially done. Your bowl cozy is complete. But to make it even better, let's do a little more basic forming to support the construction. I would take your fingers, go across the darts, push them down, pull the corners up a little bit and go the other way. Put your fingers down in the bottom and just shape that, pull those darts up nice and tight. Then, usually you're making more than one of these, so I usually stack mine up and put something heavy in the middle of it. Again, pull them up tight and then just let them sit there for a while to finish forming.
Wait, the tutorial's not over yet. I promised you that we would cover information that you haven't seen. We've talked about how to adjust your darts, but now we're going to talk about the fabric we use and the types of stripes. And why do we know this information? Because Cheryl has been trained over in England.
I was officially trained as a professional tailor in England. I've been at this for over 50 years, I'm sorry to say. So we've got some tips for you. Stay tuned.
I'm not sorry to say that. Make sure you subscribe and keep watching. This is a lightweight canvas that I purchased because any Harry Potter fan will say this just screams honeydukes to me. But of course, I love directional fabric. So she's going to show us not only how to deal with the stripes on this, but also how to maximize this purchase.
Okay, we are going to talk about stripes, maximizing those stripes in this 1 yard piece of fabric. My standard with stripes, they have to be straight, they have to match. Now, we know that the stripes along the selvage are going to be straight because that's how the fabric is woven. So we don't need to worry about those. What we do need to worry about is the center fold. That needs to run the same way along the stripe. Whatever stripe you pick, make sure that the fold is along that stripe for the length of the piece. Now we are folding it in half again, getting ready to cut it into our 12-inch squares. But first we have to square up that edge. So now I am using the grid lines. I'm placing the selvages on one end and the fold on the other end, making sure that runs along the grid line, and then I'm going to square up that edge.
Side note, when you are folding the fabric and finding the line that you are judging by, you don't need a mat for that. Just make sure you're paying attention to the pattern on your fabric.
Okay, as we stated earlier, this is indoor-outdoor fabric, or duck is what it has always been called in my land, or lightweight canvas. We chose that because it's a little bit heavier, plus the fabulous design.
I was just saying, plus it's honeydukes. I chose it because of honeydukes.
Exactly. But the beauty of this is these heavier fabrics, the lightweight canvas, the duck, the indoor-outdoor, those are all approximately 54 inches to 60 inches wide. Whereas your normal cotton, quilting cotton, the regular cottons that you buy,
the expensive Harry Potter character fabric,
all of that is 44 to 45 inches wide. Something to consider when you're making these bowl cozies. The benefit of the wider fabric is you can get more bowl cozies out of a yard.
Yay, more honeydukes for me!
Now we're going to cut those 12-inch strips. We start by cutting across this fabric with it folded down 4 times. As you can see, it's already 12 inches from the fold to the selvage. If you were cutting regular fabric that's 45, 44 inches, it would not be 12 inches the other way. So that's just the benefit of having the 54-inch fabric. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut those 12-inch strips, and there will be 3 of them because this is the 36-inch piece of fabric. Once you cut those 3 strips, you're going to open them out, lay them one on top of another, and then you're going to cut the remaining 12 inches to give you your squares. Okay, back to the stripes. As you can see, that first raw edge cut is straight along those little flowers. It's perfectly straight. So lining those up one on top of another, we're going to stagger the one raw edge to make sure that the stripes continue to line up as we go down the 12 inches. Of course, you could cut these out individually.
That's what I would have done. That's why we're having her film the maximize and cutting part. Subscribe for more time-saving sewing tips.
And then before I cut, we're going to look on the underneath side to make sure those stripes line up on both ends.
Now you're just going to turn those strips into your squares by cutting them into another 12 inches. After that, the bowl cozy is assembled exactly the same, except we do have one more tip on how to put right sides together. If you would line this up the traditional parallel lines way, normally you don't get them matching this well. So admittedly, this was an example that I wasn't anticipating. Even though you can see these match well, it is going to be extremely difficult to line those up and keep those lined up through all those thicknesses. And remember our batting shifts. So instead, we're going to turn these perpendicular to each other because then you don't have to worry about stripes peeking out and they look really good. See, look how pretty and professional that looks. I promise you won't regret doing this technique. We also have one more tip before we end this tutorial. When you are using the indoor-outdoor fabric or like a lightweight canvas, it's thicker. So remember that you want to leave a larger opening and just kind of take a little bit more time when turning it inside out. But I really do like the weight that it gives and supports your bowls. Now, I know you probably think we're all done with the information, but we wanted to thank you for watching all the way to the end of this tutorial. So Cheryl has one more tip about how to dry your bowl cozies.
So you've got these. They're a big hit. Everybody's using them. They're going to get dirty. I know you would never spill. We would never spill. But somebody in your house
Grandkids
will
would
spill. My grandkids would spill. So toss it in the washer. Not a problem. Be just fine. Run it through your cycle. Then when you go to put it in the dryer,
you're going to be tempted to leave it there.
don't do that. Let me tell you why. Because when it is almost dry, take it out, put your bowl inside, and go to the edge and pull those darts up, much like you did when we were forming it. And then just let it sit and finish drying like that. Then when you take it out, it will be all ready to go. Nice, cozy, flat bottom. Take it out before it's dry.
Because then you have saved all the work that you did, and the bowl will fit really nicely in it.
Looking for another beginning sewing project? Check out our pillowcase tutorial where we show you how to get directional fabric running the right way. It will be linked in the description and on the end screen.
If you found any of this information useful, please make sure to subscribe to our channel as we're trying to grow, and make sure you share this with anyone who wants to make one of their own. Fast plug. If you're a fan of Harry Potter like I am, make sure to continue to subscribe, and I share more Harry Potter stuff on our Instagram channel. Same name. I'll see you over there.